Hey guys, and welcome to the Fish Room. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and it's time for a Tuesday tip. Now, I've mentioned in the past how hard it is for me to get these Tuesday tips done on time, and that's because I often have fish coming in. And it's a main shipping day, so I thought today I would reinforce my acclimation video to you guys and also show you sort of what I do when I get in shipments of fish. And this would apply to anyone who orders online. First thing I do is gather together a bunch of supplies. I get as many nets together as species that are coming in, a pair of scissors, some tape to mark the tank with species and arrival date, and then some poly filter. Now my boxes have been sitting here for about an hour to stabilize temperature. And I do this because I control the temperature of my fish room rather than the tanks. So this way they can warm up in the dark and get to temperature, and then I can just drop them right in the tank. Now your box when it comes in should be styro lined, as this is. First thing you do is your visual inspection, and as you put away each bag, it's important that you look over it carefully, and before you open it, you photograph any DOAs. The vast majority of sellers require that if you want a refund or a credit, that you have pictures of the fish in the unopened bag. So I do, just like with when I get shrimp in, I do a visual inspection. All these fish are alive. So I then get a clean net. Cut open my bag. Pour them through the net and dump them in a tank. And then I label my tank right away, and this is for a few reasons. I get a lot of really similar species in, and when they're stressed it can be really difficult to tell what's what, especially with little things like Barraras. So the bag should be labeled for you, and then I just label the tank. This also reminds me when things will be done quarantine, how long they've been in quarantine, and if I end up having to medicate anything, I can put another piece of tape on the tank as well to remind me when to medicate or how much it's been medicated. Now, I look through and try and make sure I get all the same types at once. That's peculiar. These are all chili rasboras. Please note that I threw the dirty net behind me so that I wouldn't use it again. Now, bigger nets are generally better just because the fish jump around a lot and it prevents them falling into the bucket. And in anticipation of getting this order in, I went around and I did large volume water changes in all of the empty tanks that are getting fish to remove any debris, do a good vacuum, make sure they're really clean and clear so that I can see the fish for this first week especially. I find that the vast majority of issues that are going to arise in freshwater fish happen in that first week. These are dwarf chain loaches. They look fantastic. There should be another bag of them. Again, I like to do like species at once just to keep my life simple. Also, that way I don't have to remember which net was for which species. Always make sure you check your bag to make sure all the fish came out. Especially with little guys, it's really easy to have some get stuck in a corner or just get trapped in the plastic. Next, I'll do the cherry barbs. Now, you may notice that a lot of my tanks are super overcrowded. That's because I'm a business. Obviously, these aren't normal stocking levels, and it's fine to do that when things are in quarantine. You just need to make sure you do frequent, large volume water changes. Next are dip tails. Again, this visual inspection is really important, as most retailers require a picture of the fish in the bag. And I know it's a pain in the butt, but this doesn't have to be high resolution macro photography. It's usually pretty easy to tell if a fish is alive or dead. 0 to sinkless. Now this bucket has gotten full enough that my net could touch it. So I'm going to get a new bucket because I don't want any cross-contamination. Even though these all came from the same vendor, that does not mean that they were housed together. Now this bag does have some DOAs. Although it's only one. For your application at this point, you would take photographs. With my application of getting stuff in bulk like this, there's two. I won't bother with a refund for 2 or 3 fish. However, I will lay them out and take a picture in order to let my vendor know. It's really important when you get in fish from somebody that you give them honest feedback. There's no way that they can improve things or even have a clue that there may have been an issue if you don't tell them. Now the last thing I do before I clean up this mess is to go around and add a chunk of polyfilter to every quarantine tank. And the reason I do this is that these tanks have been empty for at least the last week and I'm adding a large volume of fish. I'm going to do daily 50% water changes on all of these new imports. However, with a dense stocking, especially if I put 100, 200, 300 fish in a tank, means that you can have imperceptible shifts of ammonia. I like to use something like polyfilter in my tank just to sort of take care of any shifts before they occur. This is not a replacement for water changes. However, it can be really helpful in a quarantine environment where things are overcrowded. Now, it's important to note that you should not use this if you're prophylactically medicating at all because it will remove medication. Now the vast majority of fish should color up and act normally almost immediately, and I'll feed them this evening. Hope that helps. Now don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my Tuesday tips or Sunday species spotlights. I'll also have a bonus video coming out this week on some of my travels. Make sure you stop by my Facebook as well as my website, MsJinx.com, where you can find my upcoming speaking engagements, my current stock list, and information on all things nano. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions, let me know below.